Hi everybody. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about what are known as TERFs, partly because I had a bit of a conversation in a comment thread with Vina Lloyd about this. Most of his paranoia about feminism seems to stem from TERFs, from what are known as TERFs. A TERF, if anyone doesn't know, is a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, and that refers to feminists, usually from the second wave of feminism, who are transphobic. This certainly doesn't mean everyone from the second wave of feminism is transphobic. That's not the case. But this particular section of it are a bunch of people who are transphobic in the sense they don't think trans women are real women. I think they see trans women as being wolves in sheep's clothing. Now, there's a bit of a popular idea within a lot of third wave feminism at the moment, or certainly a lot of people I've spoken to, who the word misandry isn't a real word, or it's not a real thing. I disagree with that. I think with TERFs, their transphobia is very much informed by their misandry. I think it's very much a part of their misandry. Because they don't see trans women as real women. They just see them as men pretending to be women, and they see them as men trying to sneak into their movement, to sneak into their whole culture. And I think they wouldn't object to that if they didn't have a problem with men. You see, I think that being more of a third wave kind of guy, I tend to empathise more with the third wave of feminism. I don't really, I don't really see the point. I don't really care whether, this person thinks of themselves as a woman, or thinks of themselves as a man, or is thought of as a woman or thought of as a man. If someone identifies as a woman, dresses as a woman, considers themselves to be a woman, as far as I'm concerned, they're a woman. I don't know why I would personally want to question that. It's not any concern of mine whether they have a penis or whether they have a vagina, or whether they were born with a penis or born with a vagina or whatever. It's just not my concern, is it? So for me, being more I tend to be very drawn to this idea of gender as a spectrum rather than a binary, and I think that there's lots of shades of grey in between being a man or being a woman. So I don't really get the idea of transphobia. I also don't like transphobia because it's vile. It's just as most prejudices are. Well, it's just really vile to hold a prejudice against someone like that. But it seems very odd that trans women would have the most trouble being accepted in a movement, more so than men. You'd have thought that's very odd. Men that cisgendered men. But that was something I thought. So I do think misandry there not only is a word, even if it's not an official word, it's still a definite concept. Some people have argued it's not a proper word because it doesn't come up on a spell check. But funnily enough, I've heard the MRA argument that proves that we live in a guidocracy, because spell checkers aren't allowed to acknowledge the existence of the word misandry. So the argument fails, whichever way you look at it. There's lots of words that don't show up on spell checkers that are real words. But I do, the impression I get is TERFs are transphobic because they are misandric. It's an extension of that. And some notable TERFs would be people like Germaine Greer, Nigella Lawson, Julie Birchill. I've got to be honest, I cannot stand Julie Birchill. Long before I ever had any interest in feminism or any knowledge of feminism or knowledge of her position on feminism, I've always found her to be a really annoying, obnoxious, intellectually dishonest person. Less said about that the better. So that's some of my thoughts there. I think that an argument could be made that TERFs aren't real feminists. That's an argument that could be made. I'm not saying that's the one I'm making, but the argument would go along the lines of that feminism is a belief that women should have equal rights and status to men, and TERFs don't seem to think that. They don't seem to actually believe in gender equality. They seem to believe in some kind of supremacy of cisgendered women. They seem to see that as very much a kind of superior type of person to be. And the other thing is, a lot of these women, I mean, especially if you get to places like Rad Fem Hub, some of these people openly identify as misandrists. They'll actually tell you that. They'll say, I'm a man-hater or misandrist if you prefer. That's something they actually say. So, I don't know, who am I to argue with someone who self-identifies as a misandrist? That's a fair question. If someone's self-identified, if an MRA self-identified as a misogynist, which none of them ever do, but if they did, we wouldn't probably argue with that. We'd probably say, at least you've been honest. At least you've actually put the label that applies to you, rather than trying to put this weird men's rights activist onto yourself, which clearly doesn't apply to you because you haven't done anything for men's rights, or the movement you're involved with certainly hasn't. So there's some thoughts there. I think this Saturday, if anyone's interested, myself and Extremely Boring and a couple of other as yet unconfirmed people are going to be doing a bit of a hangout. I think we're going to be discussing. Well, I say discussing is a bit of a big word. We're going to be laughing at some and drinking some Radfem blogs, as I understand it. So if anyone's got any thoughts on this, yeah, as usual, if you just drop them in the comment section or whatever, let me know what you think. Goodbye.